Welcome to another episode of the Read Pile. Today I'm talking about The Coffin. This came out in 2001 originally. I think I first found it somewhere in like the 2004, 2005 time frame. That's when I was starting to get my living and financial situation sorted out enough that I could get back into comics after a couple of year gap. So I've had this for a long time. I've also talked about my sorting, my shelving, and how I have a shelf of favorites. This has been on my shelf of favorites for a long time. I have not read it since that initial read, almost 20 years ago? Yeah. Somewhere around 20-ish years ago. I read this, I enjoyed it, it has been on my shelf of favorites ever since, and in rereading this now, I don't know that it's going to wind up back on my shelf of favorites. I'll get there. You can see here there are a couple of signatures on there. I've talked about both Phil Hester and Mike Huddleston. Phil Hester, to me, primarily an artist. I did a video for The Wretch, the 3 volumes of The Wretch. Huddleston, Homeland Directive, I have not done a video for this, but I have for Butcher Baker, The Righteous Maker. This came out in 2011, so roughly 10 years after The Coffin, and his art style is radically different. So just as a reminder, hopefully I don't open to breasts here, but this is what he was doing at the time. This is actually 2012. This is 2012. This is 2011. So this is what he was doing roughly 10 years after The Coffin, and this is what The Coffin looks like. So besides being black and white, it's heavy on inks. Not as much style as he was doing later. This is more, I would say, traditional, just stylized differently. Now that this is on my radar again, I think I'll do something about this soon, and then I'll get to some Venditti stuff. I've got some of his stuff too, so on the radar. Probably not soon. Alright, so The Coffin. And this has what I think is one of the best elevator pitches I've ever heard. What if Dr. Frankenstein made a monster of himself? And that is what happens. I just think thematically it's very interesting. It leads the mind in some interesting directions. So there is a doctor, Dr. Ahmad, and he has an assistant. This is sort of where things are leading. He has an assistant, Liv. He has a colleague that quit due to conflict. There is a multi-billion-dollar benefactor that is paying for some of his research. And I'm going to call him, I don't think he has a title, but I'm calling him a metaphysical engineer. What he is trying to do is, at the moment of death, he's building a machine, a coffin, he's calling it. I think that's poor branding. Someone would come along and change that name if it were ever finalized and released. But he's calling it The Coffin, and what it does is it traps the soul at the moment of death inside this suit, and then you basically have control over a robot suit after your body has died. It's kind of fascinating. But his benefactor is 144 years old, and he is doing all sorts of things to prolong his life, pretty nasty things. And he wants this technology. There's, yeah, I like this one too. He's doing all sorts of nasty things to prolong his life, and he wants this coffin technology to, I guess, get rid of his own body and prolong his life indefinitely inside a suit like this. So he goes and attacks. He's got some lackeys. They attack Dr. Ahmad. They wind up killing him. They wind up killing Liv, and they do take the technology, but it's not working as well. And then there's some regrets. Oh, maybe we shouldn't have killed that guy. But that's the central conflict, is Dr. Ahmad versus Heller. Heller's the name of the multi-billionaire guy. Dr. Ahmad also has a daughter named Billy, and she's a tool being used in this conflict. There she is. Daddy. In a nutshell, that's what's happening here. There is some metaphysical stuff going on about the afterlife and possible reality versus hallucinations. What is going on there? There are scenes depicting after Dr. Ahmad has died, and there's a pretty great scene at the end of this as well, where somebody else life is in the balance. It's very good. I find this to be more interesting than good, and I've said the word interesting quite a bit this video, but it's true. It's a thought-provoking piece. I just think Hester and Huddleston have both done better work. You can see some signatures on here. I think both have shown up likely at different times to Wizard World, what used to be Wizard World around here. And so I was able to get this signed by both of them. I'm a little bit conflicted because I think I've read better material over the last, again, 18-ish years. And I think this doesn't rank as high as it once did. It's still good. It's still recommended. I just think both of these guys have done better things. Still, if you get the opportunity to check this out, I do recommend it. And I don't think since I started paying attention that I've seen it be reprinted. So I don't know availability-wise how easy this would be to procure, but it is something I do recommend. If you get the opportunity, snatch it up.